and the world in general. Transport Line is being beamed to you from the Center of Excellence, the state of aquatic splendor, and Africa's 5th largest economy, Lagos. I am Shina Ilegbede. I appreciate your keeping us company. Do you recall that classic number in the 50s, The Thrill Is Gone, by B.B. King? Well, it was a beautiful song, even up till today. Those who love jazz will testify to that. Well, the thrill is not gone, the thrill is back as far as activities at the Nigerian ports are concerned. Why? Because a few weeks ago, the presidency announced zero import duties on certain food items in order to really attack on a short-term basis the issue of food insecurity. And on that essence, it brings into focus the Nigerian Ports Authority. Yes, NPA is in the news again. Firstly, new managing director. Secondly, the new managing director rescheduled or redeployed rather some of the port managers and to stakeholders in the maritime sector, especially shipping. That means really the thrill is not gone, but the thrill is on. Now, when you consider that we import virtually 97 or 98% conservatively of what we consume in Nigeria, then all focus will be on the Nigerian Ports Authority. So how do we really assist the NPA in seeing to the fact that presidency directive as regards these zero duty for food, certain food items are really well implemented? I have with me on set not only a maritime consultant, a senior university lecturer, and also an author, especially author of the ABC of shipping and ports operation in Nigeria. And you can see where I'm coming from and where I'm going. So when we really need guidance and veritable knowledge to make sure that, yes, we get it right, we should get it right, because we have too many eggs in Nigeria, yet we are always putting square peg in round hole or round hole. But we want to put square peg in square hole this time around so that we get it right. So it's my pleasure to welcome Charles Okorefe. Doctor, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me, sir.
Dr. Charles Okorefe will be our guide. Charles, how do we get it right this time? Zero import duty on certain food items. And like I said, this basically has to do with port management. Can we put in your suggestion, please?
Yeah, thank you very much for having me once again. Now, the federal government, just like you have rightly said, recently made that pronouncement of zero duty on the importation of certain food items. I think, to my mind, that is a stopgap measure, if you ask me, because when you do zero duty on the importation of food items, what you are directly saying is that your farmers, your local farmers, should go to sleep, which to my mind is not the ideal thing to do. So it's a temporary measure. As a temporary measure, yes, because prices of everything in Nigeria has skyrocketed. The inflationary trend is very high, you know. But that notwithstanding, for the period is going to last.
Sorry, Charles, for the period is going to last, the government is not saying the farmers should go to bed. It's because of the insecurity. Call them the bandits, the kidnappers.
Exactly.
Are major obstacles to farmers going to farm. So why government, I believe, I'm not a spokesperson of government, I follow the trend in the society. So while government is doing everything possible to do what we call mop up operation in this aspect of insecurity, not only hectares of farmlands, but all over the country. Because we'll be calling for short, medium, and long-time strategy. So that is the thing. So that let's get that right so our
That is
viewership
why
will not
I
run away
called
with the
it-
fact that government has
Yes.
said that people should go to bed.
That is why I say it's a stopgap measure.
Yes, it's
But
temporary
then,
thing.
also remember that the fact that our farmers cannot go to farm is also an indictment on the government in terms of providing security for these people to do their jobs. So I think aside from the fact of allowing goods, food items to come in on zero duty for the time being, I think the major focus of government is to provide security for our farmers, for them to be able to go to their farms. So that instead of talking about importation, we are supposed to be talking of exportation of food, for instance. That is where I'm coming from. Nigeria's the major export is in agriculture.
In those days.
In those days. But that can be recalled because the farms have not gone away. They are still there.
The lands are still there, lying
Good.
fallow.
So why is it that we are saying it's in those days? It shouldn't be. Because the point is that if there is safety, if there is security in the farms across the nation, especially the northern parts of the nation where much of the food comes from, I think the government will have done something noble. That does not discredit the idea of the temporary arrangement of zero import duty on food.
Yeah.
But let it not be a permanent solution.
6 months.
Good.
It's at a time limit.
Yeah, you
Time
know
target,
how it
yes.
operates in Nigeria. Before you know it, they say, let's give an extension to 1 year. That is the way things happen here. So I'm only trying to sound a note of warning that let that 6 months be 6 months, so that we do not extend. Government is supposed to provide security for our local farmers to be able to farm so that we can be looking towards exports, not only of our agricultural products, but products with added value.
So within that 6 month period, the armored corps, the infantry corps will have been strategically placed so that the farmers will confidently go back to farms.
I pray it works that way. In the interim, I think the Nigerian Ports Authority, that is where your question
Yes, that is
was
where we're going, but I
predicated
know
upon.
we just digress.
Yes. I think the Ports Authority, as you have rightly said, now we have a new sheriff in town. Okay, the person
Abubakar.
of Abubakar Dantosho, who has virtually cut his teeth through the Nigerian Ports Authority because where he did his NYSC there in 1992 and has grown through the ranks to become the MD today. So he force is the type of people would say that
Square
it's a
peg in square hole.
in a square hole, just as we have it in Bashir.
Jamal.
No, not Bashir Jamo. Bashir Jamo, yes. I'm
That
talking of
Jimasa.
the customs.
Okay, custom.
Yes.
Adewale Adeniyi.
Adewale Adeniyi.
Okay.
In the customs. You see, so I think it's a step in the right direction to have them to show us the
MD of
MPA. So I believe he will bring his experience to bear. Don't forget he was the port manager at Onne between 2020 and 2021. So, and he did some innovations there which are credible. So I believe he will bring that to bear to put the ports in a
Good
readiness, to achieve what we are talking about here.
Now, yes, it's been part of I'm referring to Bashir Abubakar Dantosho. He has cut his teeth from the cradle to what you call civilization. In fact, he was the chief of staff to the immediate past Minister of Transportation, Muazu.
Yeah.
So now, when you look at the post operation in Nigeria and the tax ahead, there should be synergy among the various agencies. Now, we are now talking about port management,
Yes.
berthing of vessels, evacuation of cargoes, checking. Now, they've said, yes, they have to check because don't just give blanket, close your eyes, because there are some, I won't call them scrupulous, but criminally minded citizens, like in any society, who try to use that opportunity to smuggle what they are not supposed to bring in. So, but in doing this, time factor is very important. How do they go about it?
And that is where the role of the customs comes in too, because it is the duty of the customs to examine every import cargo that is coming through our ports. So I think the customs, thankfully, we have very credible men at the helms in customs right now. If you talk of the controllers
That's in
in the
various
ports,
ports. Yes.
you know, these are people who have dedicated their time to ensure
Olomu,
that
Dare,
you talk of people
Nnamdi,
like Olomu in Apapa port,
Tinkan,
Deranad in
Tinkan
Tinkan Island
Island.
port, you have my friend in at the border, the former PRO, I'm forgetting his name now. You see. But these are the people who have dedicated their time to ensure that the customs system work in good shape. So I believe they will also bring their knowledge and their credibility into play to ensure that the right things are imported through the ports at the given period. So they are supposed to synergize with the Nigerian Ports Authority to ensure that the proper thing is done in terms of bringing in what they are supposed to bring in. I'm talking of the short-term food import measures on zero duty and all of that. So I think we should expect something good out of it.
Yeah, Charles, why this importation duty zero is being on? It doesn't mean other items are not coming.
No.
Now, this is why we want to look at the prospects, challenges and prospects of the Nigerian Ports Authority in modern ports operation. All the time, it's not even the issue of trade facilitation, is of doing business, ditto, how long does it take for a cargo to clear? We've been having, it's over 20 years now. During the era of, what's his name, Azam Bello, we want to achieve 24 hours cargo clearance, 48 hours, 72, and we are still doing the same thing.
It's a mirage.
Why are we doing this all merry-go-round? It can be achieved if everybody is on his toes. How do we go about it?
Now, good. It's a good, very good question. Now you recall what we call the single window system. That is supposed to be a paperless system of operations within the port system, up to the CBN and all of that. But that has failed to materialize in Nigeria. We're talking of automation. Our ports ought to undergo automation. Small ports like Benin Republic, Ghana, Togo, their systems have automated, so they work seamlessly. But because of bureaucracy, corruption, okay, and human factor, these are the things we experience in Nigeria. The human contacts. I don't know, because in most cases, when you go to the ports, especially for those who are in the system of cargo clearance, you understand what I'm trying to say. You know, in most cases, most of the customs, they want to be there. Government agencies that are not meant to be in the ports, they want to be at the ports, just because they feel that there's something to get out of it. And they get out of it. So it's difficult. You remember when Okonjo-Iweala was there as the Minister of Finance, she made sure that all the government agencies that are not meant to be at the port were removed from the ports. But they are all back. So these are the bottlenecks we are facing. And this is why cargo clearance system in our ports is very sluggish, because there are so much physical contacts which ought not to be in the first place. So going forward, I think the port system, especially the NPA, the customs, they should think more about automation so that human contacts will be highly minimal. That in that scenario, you can be talking of 48 hours cargo clearance, but the way it is now, it remains a mirage.
When we're talking about cargo clearance, it brings to fore the role of the terminal operators.
Yes.
A lot has been said about them, how they frustrate importers. How can government assist in this? Because even people are crying that the time is ripe, more than ripe, or in fact overripe, to review the concession agreement.
Good.
What is your take in this?
The concession agreement, to my mind, is long overdue for review. The question you want to ask, the concessionaires, have they really lived up to expectation? Because when you recall when NPA was handling both operational and technical aspects of the port, we used to complain of delays, and all of that because of fisherdom. But it appears worse under the
concession agreement.
So it defeat the concession agreement. The concession system it defeats the purpose for the concession. Talking about how they are carrying on. For instance, you will see a vessel will come, and the terminal operators will deploy equipment from their terminals to the ship side to be discharging cargo, and leaving those whose cargoes have been exited to remain, waiting for the equipment to come. That is not in the spirit of concession. They ought to have enough cargo handling equipment, both at the ship side and within the terminal, so that operations can be seamless. But it does not happen that way. Because for those of you whose cargoes are already in the terminal, they've collected your money, so they will charge you demurrage without, or rent without looking back, while at the same time deploying their equipment to the ship side to be removing the cargo from the vessel. So there is a disconnect somewhere. And I think the role of the government to go back to that concession agreement, review it, and make sure that penalties are put on those who will flout those terms of agreement that will make cargo handling not to be seamless. Yeah. So that at the end of the day, importers will not be shortchanged, because at the moment they are being shortchanged. Container deposit refund, they are not forthcoming. They do every style to make sure that they will be owing your money, using it to trade. Then when you owe them, they will not wait. They will keep on heaping further payments on you. But when they are delaying your refund, you cannot do anything about it. So these are issues that have to be looked at thoroughly when reviewing the concession agreement.
Charles, spending the time we review the concession agreement for the Nigerian Ports Terminal Operators, where is the role of Nigeria Shippers Council here? You're supposed to be the economic regulator. Why is indirectly the Shippers Council looking the other way now, quote and unquote, and the exporters, the importers rather, are being skinned by the terminal operators?
Well, you have said it all. You see, sometimes I fail to understand the critical role the Shippers Council plays in the scheme of things in regulating the ports. You see, the Shippers Council is supposed to be protecting the interests of shippers, because that is what they are set up to do. But in our own climb in Nigeria, I don't think that is happening. Because when you take your complaints to them, bureaucracy will also set in. I had personal examples, which I wouldn't want to cite here, wherein letters were written, they will delay replies, and your cargoes are there. And so I think they too, that is talking about Shippers Council now, they have to go into their terms of reference and work on it and leave it out. Because previously, I know they didn't have enforcement powers, but I don't know whether this regulatory...
the amendment will cover all this.
Good. It should cover, so that the Shippers Council will have power of enforcement. When they bring out something, they should be able to enforce it, so that the ports can work seamlessly as well. So the Shippers Council have a lot of inward looking to do, so that their role can come to the fore.
Now, Charles, in order for the common man, in fact, it's no longer common, everybody in Nigeria, to feel the impact of this zero import duties regime of certain food items, don't you think it will go beyond clearance from the ports? Because you clear consumer goods from the ports quickly, and there will be unscrupulous illegal checkpoints here and there. Shouldn't government do something about it? Because we should be prepared. It is not something that is happening that we've not experienced it before. We talk about stories. Unfortunately, few of us are historiographers. Just relay, this is what happened, so. What do we learn from that period? So that this time around, you fall the same victim. What advice do you have for government?
The first question we should ask is, are we even sure that these people who are going to enjoy zero duty, are they going to be faithful enough to sell the products in the market in line with zero duty? It's a major question because Nigerians are very strange people. You heard the story of federal government selling rice to civil servants at 40,000 per bag. And these same people are going to the open market to sell it at the prevailing price. Sell the ones they got out. So how are we sure that these people will be enjoying this zero duty are not going to do the same thing? So I think the first check has to be on the beneficiaries of this zero duty import arrangement. How are we sure that they are going to sell those things they are importing at that low price that will assuage the common man? That is number one. You talked about illegal checkpoints here and there. That is within the hierarchy of the customs, the police, and other agencies of government to handle because it's under their purview. When we talk of federal government is not one human being. It is the agencies of government that work under government that should make governance to be easy. So I think the hierarchies of the customs, especially most times you bring out cargo from the ports, before you get to Mile 2, you have customs units. So we tell you that they are from federal operations and all that. And they will intercept something that their own colleagues have just cleared out of the port. No, so these are the anomalies that have to be changed. For instance, when Adeni came, the first thing he did was to remove the so-called CG Strike Force, which was a body that was intimidating importers and all of that. I think such can also be done in line with this imports of zero duty food items.
Charles, I want to thank you very much for finding time.
Thank you, sir.
To come and share your views on how this zero duty on imported food items will be better conscientiously implemented so that the Nigerians will feel it. Price of food should drop drastically. And again, like you said, within the 6 months, we have boundaries among the states in Nigeria and federal capital. Let's have the key armored and infantry corps officers and men to be stationed there. Let's be honest with ourselves. That way, they are not dropping from the moon. You don't need rocket science. You know to be a military strategist to know that when you have a boundary, you are coming from this way, okay, you have the infantry and you have the armored corps. We'll be waiting for you. Then again, most importantly, intelligence officers to do the right job.
That is key.
Make sure you don't ostracize yourself from the people. Make sure that you know what is going on. And most importantly, those in governance should tone down, reduce drastically the level of flouting wealth. It's sending wrong signal to the people, and people are suffering. That when you have ostentatious living and you say somebody should tighten his belt, no, it doesn't work that way. Dr. Charles Okorefe, we thank you all the time for heeding our call. We appreciate you.
Thank you for having
God bless you.
Thank you.
It's personal. Many happy returns of your wedding anniversary.
Thank you, sir.
Gradually. My regards to Madam.
Thank you, sir.
Well, before we round up, from this platform, don't forget, 48 hours from now, Airport Hotel, a seminar still talking about maritime, how we can move the shipping industry forward, courtesy of the League of Maritime Editors. And I believe Charles too will be there. But finally, continue to be your brother's keeper. Please be compassionate. That way, we have a better society. Till next time, bye-bye for now.